Paris, August 1944. Crowds flood the streets. Church bells ring. German troops retreat. France is free again. On paper, France just won the war. But here is the uncomfortable truth. From that moment on, France would never again control the global financial system it helped invent. The war was won with rifles and resistance. The peace was lost with ledgers and loan agreements. And most French citizens never noticed it happening. Because financial defeat does not arrive with tanks. It arrives quietly, with signatures, with exchange rates, with temporary agreements that somehow become permanent. This story matters right now because the modern global economy still runs on rules written in that moment, rules that rewarded some winners and quietly demoted others. France is the perfect case study, victorious, respected, but financially sidelined. To understand how that happened, we need to rewind. Before World War II, France was not weak, it was not poor, and it was definitely not financially irrelevant. Paris was once a global capital of money. French banks financed railways across Europe. French investors held foreign debt from Russia to Latin America. The French franc was trusted. French gold reserves were enormous. After World War I, France even became a creditor nation. Germany owed France reparations. French policymakers believed money was power, and they were right. Then came 1940. In just 6 weeks, France collapsed militarily. Factories were seized, gold reserves were shipped out or frozen. The Vichy government was forced to finance its own occupation. France did not just lose territory, it lost control over its balance sheet. When the Allies began planning the post-war world, this mattered more than speeches or flags, because economic systems do not care who resisted bravely, they care who controls capital. Now comes the irony. France would be liberated largely by American and British power. And liberation, it turns out, is not free. As Allied troops advanced, France needed everything: food, fuel, machinery, raw materials. The French economy was shattered, railways bombed, factories damaged, currency unstable. France had two choices: wait and starve or borrow. So France borrowed heavily from the United States, not with bombs, with dollars. And this is where the financial trap quietly begins. During the war, the United States had already redesigned the global system, not in secret bunkers, in conference rooms. In 1944, even before Germany surrendered, delegates gathered at Bretton Woods. France was there, but it was not in charge. The pitch sounded fair: stable currencies, smooth trade, no more chaos like the Great Depression. The mechanism was simple. Every major currency would be tied to the US dollar, and the dollar would be tied to gold, $35 per ounce. On paper, it looked balanced. In practice, it was brilliant. If global trade runs on dollars, then the country that prints dollars controls the system. France accepted the deal because it had no real alternative. Its gold reserves were depleted. Its currency was fragile. Its economy needed American imports immediately. The franc became a secondary currency overnight. And this was not theoretical. It showed up in brutal math. France ran trade deficits year after year. To import goods, it needed dollars. To get dollars, it had to export or borrow. Borrowing was easier. By 1947, France was financially exhausted. Inflation surged. The franc lost credibility. Confidence evaporated. Then came the Marshall Plan. Publicly, it was generosity. Privately, it was architecture. The United States offered billions in aid. France accepted gratefully, but the money came with conditions. Dollars had to be spent on American goods. Economic policy had to align with the new system. Currency controls were monitored. Trade priorities shifted. France rebuilt its factories, but not its financial sovereignty. Here is the quiet irony. France won the war militarily, but the war reorganized the world in a way that permanently reduced French influence. Before the war, France shaped monetary debates. After the war, France reacted to them. Even when France tried to push back, the system resisted. In the 1940s and 1950s, the franc was repeatedly devalued, not because France was reckless, but because maintaining the exchange rate drained reserves. Each devaluation was a small admission: we don't control this anymore. And the final insult came later. In the 1960s, Charles de Gaulle openly challenged the dollar system. He demanded gold instead of dollars. He warned that the system gave the United States an exorbitant privilege. He was not wrong, but by then, it was too late. The system was global. The dollar was dominant. France could protest. It could not reverse. So what actually happened? France won the war militarily, but lost the war of systems. Victory restored territory, defeat transferred financial power. This is the part history books rush past. Wars don't end when shooting stops. They end when new rules lock in advantages. The United States emerged with intact factories, massive gold reserves, and creditor status. France emerged with damage, debt, and dependency. Not because France failed, but because timing matters more than bravery in financial history. The hype said Europe was liberated. The reality was Europe was reorganized. France rebuilt its economy impressively. Growth returned, living standards improved, but control never fully came back. And that's the quiet lesson. Power today doesn't just come from winning wars. It comes from writing the spreadsheet everyone else must use. France learned that the hard way. And the question that lingers is not about the past, it's about now. When the next global crisis reshapes the system, who will be celebrating victory only to discover later what they actually lost?